Hello everyone, my name is Mr. Lishka, and just a reminder before you need to be using any machinery that we must be following the general woodworking safety guidelines that we did previously talk about in our lessons in our classes. So just to remind ourselves, if you have loose clothing, like a sweater that could have the drawstrings, that has to be taken off so nothing gets caught on the machines, okay? Once I have the sweater off, if I do have a long sleeve shirt, that needs to be rolled up past your elbows. Anything that's on your hands or your wrists, like a watch or jewelry, needs to be taken off. Ideally, you want nothing between your fingertips and your elbows so that nothing can get caught in the machines. Once we have that taken care of, always a good idea, it's a must to have a pair of safety glasses on, and they protect you from sawdust and wood chips that might get into your eyes. When the machines are on, it's a good idea to have hearing protection on, just because you're going to have loud noises and that can damage your hearing over time. If you have long hair and it comes past your shoulder length, I would like it to be confined in a ponytail behind your head so that nothing can come forward and get caught in the machines, just like loose clothing or jewelry can. Last thing here, proper footwear. We don't want to see sandals or open-toed shoes. I want to see your foot covered with a proper shoe. That way, if something falls on there, you're not going to get your foot injured or broken.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once?
Alright, today we're going to be learning about the drill presses, and these are the stand-up models, not the handheld ones. So for our purposes, we use the drill presses for a lot of different things with our CO2 cars, our tables. We might be using some special jigs, so we'll teach you some different setups with that today. So let's go through the parts first. The first one here is the belt guard. Just make sure that this is placed in its downright position. If not, the belts and pulleys are exposed, and if something ever gets in there, it could kind of damage the machine. So just make sure that's covered. You won't have to worry about getting your hands or something in there and damaging the machine. Power switch, should always know how to turn these things on and off in case there's an emergency. You can quickly just turn that off, okay? Feed handles here. This is how we raise and lower the drill bit into our project. We have the chuck here. The chuck holds different size drill bits. So this particular chuck can hold large drill bits like this with a nice large shank. It can also hold smaller drill bits with a very small shank. And it works kind of like those machines in the arcades where you can get the stuffed animals. They got the 3 prongs. It's kind of how this chuck works. There's 3 little prongs that are adjustable, and it closes down. That's what holds it when the drill bit spins. So it is multifunctional. It can hold, like I said before, small drill bits with a little shaft and large drill bits with a much larger shaft. We have our tilting table. We have our depth stop here. We'll talk about the depth stop later on and why it's important and why we need to set that for every operation. Okay? So now let's move on to safety. The very first one I want to talk about is we always want to support our material on the drill press. We never want to support it with our hand. And the reason is this motor is very large. There's a lot of torque and a lot of power. If something gets misaligned or if there's a little bit of movement in your drilling procedure, the board's going to get stuck in the drill and it's going to want to twist it around. If you're supporting now with your hand, that can damage your wrist or even break it. Okay, so we like to support it in one of 3 different ways. The very first one is what I have set up here. This one's actually bolted into the table with a couple bolts, and it's meant for smaller projects. Okay, so if I take this wood as an example, I can easily slide this in my drill press vise, and we clamp this down, and this is going to go nowhere. The ideal situation is you don't want to have your hands supporting this, like I said before, so that nothing gets spun around and you get injured. And that way I can properly work the power switch and the feed handle to raise and lower the drill bit into my work material. If you're drilling larger material, something like this one here, where sometimes it's not as easy to get the project piece into the vise, we want to use some clamps. So in a perfect world, we would love to see 2 clamps, and this actually gets clamped to the table, and that way again, your hands are free, you don't have to support the material, and you're just going to concentrate on working with the power switch and the feed handle. Okay, so that's the second way with a couple clamps. The third way is with the jig system. Okay, so what this does is allows me to drill several holes accurately, and jigs are fabulous. So what happens here is I still take the clamps, I secure it to the table, one on each side of the jig, and now my board can go into the jig system. I got to hold down the vise here, snap that down, and as you can see, it's supported very nicely. Okay, it still allows me to work with the machine without my hands supporting the material, and I can still operate the power switch and the feed handle. So whichever way you're drilling, you have to support it so your hands are not supporting it, and it's a lot safer that way. Now, the chuck key. This is how I insert and remove my drill bits. The newer chuck keys have, like this one has, it has a little spring on there. So when it's put in place and I let go, it should pop out in your hands. Some of the older ones don't have that feature. And if they're left in there and you turn the power on, this is going to spin around. And if it comes at you, it's going to hurt you because there's going to be a lot of force coming at you with that one. So just make sure that this is off to the side. In my particular case, I got a cabinet here. Now we stick it in there. Okay? So ideally, you want to wrap your hand around there. If you can't, more than likely that chuck key is inside there. Okay? Also, when you're drilling, we want to make sure that our drill press guard is in place. So the purpose of this guard is to ensure that nothing can get wrapped around the chuck when it's drilling. It also ensures that the wood chips that are flying around kind of get contained from the drill bit itself. So as you're drilling, it goes down and it's going to protect you. So again, if you have a loose thread or if you have hair that's not tied up, that this guard would protect you from that. So I like to keep it up so it's easier to line up your bit, and then before we drill, just ensure that we flip that down. All right? Let's talk about the depth stop now. So the depth stop in this particular model is wrapped around the feed handle. And the purpose of the depth stop is to ensure that we don't go too far into the table or into any kind of jigs that we have. These are metal bits that we're using on these particular drill bits. And we want to make sure that we don't go down too far. So this particular one, if I am drilling, will stop a certain height. Okay? We can set them to go as far as we need to. Whether you're drilling all the way through or part of the ways through, the depth stop needs to be set. All right? So just before we show you our demonstration today, we'll go through the procedure and how to set that. Just know that if you don't set the depth stop, you could damage 3 things. If this wood drill bit touches any metal surface, you run the risk of shattering this drill bit, so it's going to be broken. You can shatter the table. It's only cast iron. Again, they're kind of expensive, so you want to make sure that we don't try and drill into there. Always have a backer board underneath. And if your project requires a certain depth, or if it does burst inside there, it could potentially damage your project itself. Okay? Now, when you are drilling, you have to make sure that we also have everything set up. So not only do you have your project piece clamped in one of the 3 ways that we've shown you, we also have to set our depth stop. And the last thing we want to check is that we have this table clamp set up. Okay? If the table clamp is not locked in position, this table can move in several different directions. We can move it left and right, it can go up and down, and when you're drilling, you have everything set up, and that table clamp is not clamped, there's potential for that table to move around. And that could be dangerous because it could spin around and hit you. It might wreck your project because now your hole might not be accurate. So we just want to ensure that this guy is tight and secure before that power does go on. Okay? When you are drilling, you want to make sure that we double check our hole location. Okay? So when we are drilling with our drill press, we want to identify our spots in one particular way. And the best way to do that is with two intersecting lines. Okay? The reason why is that every drill bit has a center point. So if I grab this large drill bit here, the center point on that drill bit needs to line up with the two intersecting lines on my project piece. If you take a pencil and you just draw a circle, that center point can go anywhere inside that hole, and it's not that accurate. The best way to line up the hole is with two intersecting lines. There's only one point of an intersection there. Okay, so we got to make sure that's lined up. We double check it before we drill. All right? So let's show you now how we would drill a hole. Okay? So if I want to go all the way through, I'm going to first set my depth stop. So I can loosen it right here. There's a little thumb set screw. I'm going to bring this all the way down so it goes just below the opening of my guard here, or the actual clamp. And now that's set. So if I show you, it doesn't go past that point. It stops us from drilling. Then place my board in the vise. Line up my mark. I make sure it's secure so that this project piece does not move. I bring in my guard, covers the chuck, check my table clamp, it's secure, the table's not going to move on me. Now I'm ready to drill. So you want to stand on the feed handle side, you're going to turn the power on, we're going to use the 3 spokes on the feed handle, bring this down. Once I see the 0 point on the depth stop hit the red arrow, that's when I stop. Okay? So here we go. Just a little reminder before you ever turn on the power onto your boards, make sure the drill press is in the upright position. Don't turn this on when the drill bit is touching the material because you will damage the project. Also, we're going to keep it running until it also goes back to its original spot. You never want to turn off the drill bit when it's stuck inside the board just because it's very hard to get out. So we turn on, we drill all the way through, and we come back up. Once it's in this upright position, we then turn this thing off. And that's how we use the drill press.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine about nothing and everything all at once? I am one of those melodramatic fools, neurotic to the bone, no doubt about it. Sometimes I give myself the creeps. Sometimes my mind plays tricks on me. It all keeps adding up. I think I'm cracking